So today we're in conversation with John Baker, a partner at KPMG Consulting Services, and John is a partner in their health, ageing and human services practice. John's got enormous experience from the UK in the person-centric services side of the change that's occurred there. So John, welcome. Thank you for agreeing to be part of our In Conversation series.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here.
Tell us a bit about your experience in the UK and why it has worked, if you believe it has, and what's your experience of that?
My experience is that it does work well. That's not to say, actually, that the UK has cracked this. It's something, actually, that's worth reflecting on. As far as personalisation is concerned and the introduction of self-directed support, it actually started in 1997. So the UK's been working on this for a very, very long time. And so over those years, there have been some fantastic successes in the rollout of personalisation, and has impacted on people's lives in a very, very positive way. So I really like the way it works. But that's not to say that during that process we didn't make significant mistakes, and that we didn't have to learn from those in that rollout. And it's interesting to kind of reflect on the fact that started in 1997, and when you look at the ambition of the NDIA and the ambition of the federal government to roll out the NDIS over what is a very short time frame, there are going to be some significant challenges associated with that, and I think there's a real parallel with some of the lessons that were learnt in the UK that could be useful.
So John, what were some of the bumps along the way, and how could they be smoothed out in Australia?
Conceptually, if you're in the sector, working as a social worker or working as a frontline member of staff, or even in senior management, you intuitively know, actually, that personalisation and self-directed support is a positive thing. And it allows people choice and control. It allows them to manage their lives and take charge. But actually, in order for that to happen, you need a mature market. You need a market to allow people to make decisions about choice. If there's only one provider, then there's not much choice, is there? And so actually one of the big lessons in the UK was the introduction of personalisation into a traditional market with very few providers able to offer very much change, very much choice. And so I think that was really important, that actually over that period of time you had to see the market change. You had to see the dynamic within that shift from a traditional kind of block grant type function towards one where you saw the emergence of lots of small and medium-sized enterprises. Yes, some organisations leave the market, and others really consolidate and blossom. But we also saw a requirement for the state to actually change how it configured its operations. So we saw local authorities in the UK divest themselves of significant resources as far as service delivery was concerned. They got rid of the buildings, they got rid of the day centres, they got rid of the residential homes, they got rid of these things, because as choice and control was introduced, what we saw were people voting with their feet and actually saying, well, I don't want that service anymore, I'm going to go over here, or I'm going to go to this local service that's run not necessarily by a local authority. So we saw local authorities have to change the way they provided services, and indeed many of them moved towards what was described as a commissioning authority. They moved away from traditional service-led approaches towards not really providing any services at all, but taking on a role of market steward. And actually their role was to manage the market and to ensure that the market was mature enough. So you saw the provider change, you saw the commissioner in that sense change. And then the other dynamic that we saw change very significantly was, of course, the consumer. And the consumer had to shift from a passive recipient of service, I get what I'm given, to an active consumer who actually had a personal budget and was going out and shopping. And when you think about the introduction of that, it's quite a challenge to say, okay, you've now got £400 a week, $200 or whatever, to spend on a particular service. Go out and find it. So we saw consumers start to shop in quite a different way. And at the start, there weren't necessarily organisations set up to help them do that. So we saw them using things like Gumtree. We saw them using eBay. We saw them using all sorts of interesting methods of getting the services that they actually wanted in different ways. And gradually, as that matured, we also saw the market respond to that, and we started seeing e-markets being set up where people were able to broker on behalf of these consumers and help them develop packages of care. So you saw that kind of change over that period of time. My advice to any organisation when they're doing that is not to lose sight of the person, your client, the consumer, because we did see in the UK actually an emergence of some very sophisticated technology, some very sophisticated portals that were great, but people didn't use them. We actually saw them kind of wither a bit because actually they'd forgotten. Yeah, and they'd forgotten the fact that before I'm prepared to use that technology, I want to talk to a human being. And that's no great surprise when you think about it. These are some of the most important decisions you're going to take in your life. This is not 2 clicks and I'm done. This is about actually, I want to speak to a person who understands and is interested in what a good day looks like for me.
It's not an Uber or ordering a pizza.
Absolutely not. These are, and whether it's for yourself or for someone that you love, it's critically important that you get that right. Oh, there's so many ways that I think it can be successful, and it's a fantastic opportunity. The way this is being rolled out, the way it's being handled at the moment presents some significant challenges, but a once-in-a-generation opportunity for people with a disability to really grab control of the agenda. And I think that would be my main outcome, is I'd like to see people with a disability in charge of this, not professionals, not CEOs of particular organisations, but actually individuals being in charge of this. And I would see success as a market capable of responding to those choices that people are making in their lives. A market which responds flexibly to those changing requirements as people get older.